Welcome everyone. I'm excited to kick off today's presentation with an incredible story about Lady Dhurandhar. Today, we'll explore her role as a spy, her sacrifices, and a mission that truly saved the world. This is part 3, covering chapters 16 to 21, and I promise it's a story full of courage and heroism. So, let's dive in and discover how her bravery made a difference. In the previous video, we explored the tragic downfall of Everard D'Cruz, a young man of Portuguese descent in Goa who loved India deeply but was never truly accepted. Despite his aspirations, he was rejected from the police force and then found himself at a crime scene, where he was falsely accused of murdering his trainer's family. With evidence planted against him, Everard was declared guilty and faced a severe punishment, leaving his life in ruins. But his story didn't end there. In the next phase, a surprising turn occurred when a mysterious escape led him into the hands of India's top intelligence officials in New Delhi. There, he uncovered the truth about his innocence and was offered a risky mission to shed his identity and become Evelyn D'Cruz. He accepted, undergoing a complete physical and mental transformation to infiltrate the world of espionage, which could influence the future of the nation. Now, in this current phase, Evelyn arrives in Wuhan, China to carry out her mission. She meets Dr. Adam Costa, a Portuguese scientist linked to the project she's investigating. What starts as a careful approach gradually turns into genuine emotion, blurring the lines between her mission and her feelings. Just as she begins to access critical information, Adam discovers her secrets, risking everything. But instead of breaking, Evelyn chooses honesty, revealing her true past. Adam, confronted with a new reality, surprisingly decides to stand with her. Together, they form a powerful alliance, aiming to expose the truth and complete their mission from within. Yet, with emotions running high and danger closing in, the stakes have never been higher. Can they succeed without losing everything they now hold dear? Ultimately, this story is about Lady Dhurandhar, a spy, a sacrifice, and a mission that ultimately saved the world. Days in Wuhan began to settle into a rhythm for Evelyn, but beneath that routine, something far more complex was unfolding. Her connection with Adam grew stronger with each passing interaction. What had started as a calculated approach under mission, Lady Dhurandhar, was slowly transforming into something deeply personal, something she had not anticipated despite all her training. Adam's presence brought a sense of comfort in an otherwise alien environment, and their shared Portuguese roots created a natural bond that required no effort, no performance. It simply existed, and that was what made it dangerous. Because for the first time since becoming Evelyn, she found herself responding not as an agent, but as a woman. They met frequently now, sometimes for coffee, sometimes for walks around the campus, sometimes just to talk. In those conversations, Adam opened up about his life, his work, his loneliness in Wuhan. Evelyn responded with the life she had been trained to present, yet somewhere between truth and fabrication, she began to feel a connection that blurred the lines between mission and emotion. Adam admired her intelligence, her grace, her quiet strength. She could see it in the way he looked at her, in the way his tone softened when he spoke to her, in the way he remembered small details about her preferences. While she maintained her composure externally, internally she questioned what she was really doing, because this was no longer just about extracting information. It was about a person who trusted her, who was beginning to care for her. Despite her repeated efforts to remind herself of her purpose, her heart started responding in ways she couldn't control. She stayed in constant communication with Mr. Rastogi and the R&AW team, providing updates, maintaining discipline, ensuring the mission remained on track. But even they sensed a subtle shift in her tone, a human element that no amount of training could fully suppress. And yet, they trusted her judgment, because she had come this far with precision and strength. One evening, after a long conversation, Adam looked at her softly and said he hadn't felt this connected to anyone in years. And for a brief moment, Evelyn felt her defenses weaken. She knew what he was feeling was real, and the unsettling truth was, so was what she was beginning to feel. As she walked back that night, she realized this mission was no longer just an operation. It was becoming a test of her identity, her emotions, and her ability to balance both without losing herself completely. As weeks turned into months, Evelyn and Adam's bond deepened to a level that neither of them could ignore. Their conversations grew longer and more personal, and they started spending more time together. What had begun as a growing friendship now carried the unmistakable weight of romantic connection. Despite all her efforts to keep emotional distance, Evelyn found herself drawn toward him in ways that felt natural, almost inevitable. It was as if this connection wasn't just part of a mission, but a destiny unfolding on its own. Adam felt it too. His gestures became more affectionate, and his words carried deeper meaning. One quiet evening, he openly expressed his feelings, not with dramatic declarations, but with simple honesty that struck Evelyn deeply. That moment marked a turning point. She faced a conflict she'd never anticipated. Saying yes to her feelings meant allowing herself to truly feel, to trust, and to step into a relationship that could complicate everything. Saying no, on the other hand, risked halting the natural progression of their connection and jeopardizing the mission. In the end, she chose the middle path. She allowed their relationship to grow naturally, without forcing or denying it. Over time, their bond transitioned into something more intimate and personal. They started spending most of their time together, to the point where living separately no longer made sense. When Adam proposed they live together, it seemed like a perfect fit with the mission's objectives. It would give her direct access to his environment, his habits, and potentially crucial information. But for Evelyn, it was no longer just about access. It was about being with him, sharing a space, and building a life, at least for now. As she moved into his apartment, she found herself stepping into a role she hadn't consciously prepared for, almost like a partner, managing daily routines, cooking, caring, sharing moments. This domestic closeness only strengthened her emotional connection, making it even harder to separate her feelings from her professional duties. Despite everything, she remained committed to her purpose. She kept up her communication with Mr. Rastogi, updating him on developments. She also started observing Adam's work more closely, looking for patterns, documents, conversations that hinted at something bigger. One day, during a casual walk, Adam mentioned a project in passing, no details, but enough to confirm her suspicions that he was connected to something significant at the Wuhan lab. That realization hit her hard. The mission had reached a critical stage. Her emotional attachment and professional responsibilities were about to collide. That night, as she lay beside him, listening to his calm breathing, she wondered if she'd have the strength to do what was necessary when the time came. This was the delicate balance between love and duty, something she'd have to navigate very carefully. Living together brought Evelyn closer to the truth she had been sent to uncover. It also brought her closer to Adam in a way that made every step forward feel heavier. Now she was not just observing him from a distance. She was part of his life, his routine, his trust. That trust became both her greatest advantage and her heaviest burden. She began carefully accessing his workspace when he was not around, quietly observing documents, noting details, understanding the structure of his research. Gradually, she pieced together the reality of the project he was involved in. What she discovered confirmed her fears. Yes, a virus was indeed being developed. It was complex, highly contagious, and potentially devastating if released. While Adam believed it was just a controlled scientific experiment, Evelyn understood the larger implications, hidden intentions that even he might not be aware of. She faced a moral dilemma. Should she continue extracting information without involving him, risking losing a crucial ally? Or should she trust him with the truth, risking everything? Her mission, her safety, and the fragile trust they had built. After careful thought and consulting with Mr. Rastogi, she decided on a balanced approach. She would keep gathering information while gradually understanding Adam's level of awareness. Because if he was truly unaware, involving him at the right moment could turn him into an ally, not a target. But fate had other plans. One day, while she was discreetly accessing his laptop and capturing critical data, Adam unexpectedly returned and caught her in the act. In that instant, everything froze, the mission, the relationship, the trust, hanging on the edge of a truth she could no longer hide. His expression shifted from confusion to anger, and his voice, questioning and hurt, demanded answers. And in that moment, Evelyn found herself completely vulnerable. Not as an agent, not as Evelyn the spy, just as a person standing at a crossroads of truth and consequence. As she looked into his eyes, trembling, she realized that whatever she chose to say next would determine not only her mission's outcome, but also the fate of the only person she had come to truly care for on this entire journey. When Adam caught Evelyn accessing his laptop, everything seemed to freeze. It was as if the fragile world they had built together was teetering on the edge of collapse. His eyes showed disbelief and anger, but beneath that, I think there was something even more painful: betrayal. As he demanded answers, Evelyn felt her carefully constructed identity begin to crumble. This was the moment she had feared most, the point where her mission and her emotions collided with no way out. Her hands trembled, her voice faltered, and for a moment she considered denying everything, creating yet another lie to protect both her and the mission. But something deeper inside her stopped her, a truth she could no longer suppress. Instead of deception, she chose honesty, raw, complete honesty, even if it meant losing everything. She fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face, and began revealing her entire story. From her life as Everard in Goa, to the accusations that destroyed her existence, to the brutal verdict she faced. She explained how she was saved and taken into custody by Indian intelligence, her transformation into Evelyn, and the mission she was sent on. She told him why she came to Wuhan, and most unexpectedly about him, how he was never meant to be just a target but became something far more real than she ever anticipated. Every word she spoke carried pain, vulnerability, and truth. And as Adam listened, the weight of her story overwhelmed him. His body gave in, and he collapsed unconscious. He was unable to process the magnitude of what he had just heard. Panic flooded Evelyn. She rushed him to a nearby clinic, her heart pounding, not just from fear for his physical state, but for what would happen next. She knew that once he woke up, nothing would be the same. When he finally opened his eyes, the silence between them felt heavier than words. He avoided her gaze, his anger now mixed with confusion and hurt. Holding his hands, Evelyn whispered through tears that everything she said was true, that her love for him was not part of any mission, not a strategy, but the only real thing she had found in her life after losing everything else. And as she spoke, there was no performance, no calculation, only a woman standing before the man she loved, hoping that even through the pain, the truth would be enough to hold on to what they had built. That evening, back at their apartment, the air between them was tense yet fragile, as if one wrong word could shatter everything completely. And as they sat across from each other during dinner, Adam finally broke the silence, his voice calm but heavy with emotion. He tried to process the reality Evelyn had revealed. He admitted that, while he had always sensed something unusual, he never imagined the depth of it. Never imagined that the woman he loved carried such a past, such a purpose. Yet, despite the shock, something within him refused to see her as a betrayal. Because the emotions they had shared were undeniably real. He spoke about his own position within the Wuhan lab, how he was aware of a classified project involving a virus. He believed it to be a controlled scientific experiment, never questioning the larger implications. And as Evelyn explained the intelligence behind it, the potential threat, the possibility of a man-made pandemic, Adam's perspective shifted. From denial to realization. And with that realization came a decision that would change both of their lives. He looked at her and said that if there was even a chance that this project could harm millions, he could not be a part of it. Not knowingly, not silently. In that moment, he chose not just to forgive her, but to stand with her. Not as a scientist bound by secrecy, but as a human being willing to do what was right. Evelyn, overwhelmed by his response, tried to hold him back, fearing for his safety. Knowing the risks of going against such powerful systems. But Adam reassured her with quiet strength. He told her that some truths are worth risking everything for. And that if their love meant anything, it should stand on honesty and purpose, not fear. Together, they began forming a plan, one that would allow them to extract the necessary information without raising suspicion. A plan requiring precision, timing, and absolute trust in each other. As they discussed the details, something shifted between them. Their relationship was no longer defined by hidden motives, but by a shared mission, by a partnership built on truth. And that was a powerful turning point for both of them. So, in this part of the story, we see Evelyn facing a complex and risky situation. She's unsure exactly what information is needed about the virus and its vaccine, so her plan is to get married in a private ceremony first. Then, under the guise of hosting a party for the lab members, she'll gain access to critical data, both digital and physical. She's careful to take photos and make copies without being caught on CCTV or leaving fingerprints. Evelyn's partner, Adam, is supportive and a bit anxious about the plan, but he trusts her judgment. She also mentions needing to connect with Rastogi sir to update him on recent developments. That night, Evelyn contacts Rastogi through a secure line, informing him of everything: her identity exposure, Adam's reaction, and their decision to help. Initially, Rastogi is worried about her secret being leaked, but he ultimately trusts her. He advises her to get married, gather all information, and leave China immediately, making a stop in Goa to hand over the intel, before moving to Portugal to start fresh with Adam. Adam, listening in, agrees to make personal excuses to leave the project in China. He plans to go to Goa with Evelyn for their honeymoon, to reconnect with her roots and memories, before they begin their new life together in Portugal. This conversation highlights how Evelyn and Adam's relationship has evolved beyond just love. They're now united by a shared purpose, one that involves high stakes and dangerous secrets. It's a pivotal moment where personal choices intertwine with larger mission objectives, illustrating that sometimes the path forward demands courage, trust, and sacrifice. Now that trust has been reestablished and our intentions are aligned, Evelyn and Adam moved forward with a carefully crafted plan. This plan balanced both emotion and strategy, knowing that one misstep could expose us to forces far beyond our control. Adam proposed that the safest way to grant Evelyn access to the lab's critical data, without raising suspicion, was through a personal milestone that would appear completely natural: marriage. While this idea carried deep personal meaning for both of us, it also served as the perfect cover. It allowed Adam to introduce Evelyn to his colleagues and justify her presence within restricted environments. We decided on a private ceremony, simple and intimate, away from unnecessary attention. This way, our union would be real in every sense, not just a part of the mission, but a genuine commitment we both truly wanted. As Evelyn prepared for this moment, she found herself overwhelmed with emotions she had never fully allowed herself to feel before, because this was no longer just about survival or duty. This was about love, about belonging, about finally having something real in her life. The wedding itself was quiet but deeply meaningful, a moment where two lives, shaped by completely different journeys, came together with a shared purpose. Soon after, Adam initiated the next phase of our plan. He arranged a small gathering at the lab, under the pretext of celebrating his marriage, creating an environment where Evelyn's presence would not only be accepted, but welcomed. While Adam managed the guests and kept attention away from sensitive areas, Evelyn moved with precision and caution. She accessed systems, reviewed documents, and captured critical data, everything related to the virus, its structure, transmission patterns, and most importantly, the potential antidote or vaccine pathways. Every second was calculated, every movement controlled to ensure no trace of her actions would be detected. The tension was immense, but her focus was even greater. She knew this moment marked the culmination of everything she had endured and become. As she completed her task and rejoined the gathering, maintaining her composure, she realized that the mission was nearing its most critical turning point. Later that night, as we sat exhausted yet aware of what we had accomplished, Adam reminded me that this was only the beginning of our escape. The information we now possessed made us targets, and we needed to leave China immediately. Following Mr. Rastogi's instructions, we planned to first go to Goa to hand over the data, then to Portugal to start a new life, far from the shadows of this mission. I nodded, understanding the gravity of what lay ahead. Looking at Adam, I realized that what started as a mission had transformed into something much deeper, a story of survival, identity, love, and sacrifice. Standing at the edge of this final phase, I prepared myself for what was to come, because I knew that what we had done could change the fate of an entire nation, perhaps even the world. And here we are at the final slide. Evelyn's mission reached its most critical turning point. What started as a carefully planned honey trap unexpectedly transformed into something much deeper, as real emotions surfaced. When Dr. Adam Costa discovered the truth, it could have been the end of everything. But instead, he chose to stand beside her, showing true loyalty and courage. Together, they formed a powerful alliance, risking everything to uncover and secure the deadly secrets hidden within the Wuhan lab. This was just the beginning, though. In this final stage, their bold plan will unfold: marriage, infiltration, and a dangerous escape. The big question now is, will they succeed in securing the virus information and making a safe getaway? And more broadly, how will this mission impact the future of the world? The final chapter is about to reveal its outcome, and it promises to be a game changer.